Sometimes I go out by myself and I look across the water, and I think of all the things what I see, and in my head I paint a picture. Yeah. Since I come on home, my body's been a mess. I miss your curly hair and the way you like to dress. Won't you come on over and stop making a fool out of me? Why don't you come on over, Valerie? So Valerie, Valerie, yeah, yeah. Come on, Valerie. Did you have to go to jail? I put your house on up for sale. Did you get a good lawyer? Did you have to pay that fine that you were dodging all the time, and it did you for you? Are you shopping anywhere? Change the color of your hair, and are you busy? Yeah. Did you have to pay that fine that you were dodging all the time? You know, it's seeking us to dizzy. Yeah, yeah. Well, since I come home, my body's been a mess. I miss your ginger hair, where you like to dress. Won't you come on over and stop making a fool out of me? Why don't you come on over, Valerie? Valerie, 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 Valerie. Sometimes I go out by myself and I'm looking across the water. Yeah, 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 yeah. And I think of all the things what you do now. In my head I paint a picture, yeah. Well, did you have to go to jail? Or put your house on up for sale? Did you get a good urban planner? Did you have to pay that fine? You were dodging all the time. I see you for you. Well, since I come home, my body's been a mess. I miss your curly hair and the way that I like to dress. Now, won't you come on over and stop making a fool out of me? Why don't you come on over, Valerie? Valerie, 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 Valerie. Since I come home, well, my body's been a mess. I miss your ginger hair and the way that you like to dress. Won't you come on over? Stop making a fool out of me. Why don't you come on over, Valerie, 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 yeah. Lonely mother gazing out of the window, staring at a woman she just can't touch. If at any time he's in the jail, be by his side, but it doesn't realize hurts her so much, yeah. All the praying just ain't helping at all. Can't help him think, keep himself out of trouble. So he goes out and he makes money the best way he knows how. Another body laying cold in the gutter. Listen to me, baby, don't go chasing waterfalls. Please stick to the rivers and the lakes you're used to. I know that you're gonna have it your way or nothing at all, but I think you're moving too fast, yeah. Oh, come on, well, say I seen a rainbow yesterday, but too many stores. So come and gonna be the place, the giving ray. Is it because my life is 10 shades of gray? I pray I'll 10 fade away and save it for the sunny day. And like my promise is true, only my faith can undo the man of chances I blew to bring my life to a new clear blue and unconditional skies have dried the tear from my eyes. No more lonely cries. My only bleeding hope is for those that can't cope with such an adoring pain. Keep it meant floating in the pouring rain. Who's to blame? Kicking cane in your own brain. Singing the same and singing someone else's brain. Singing the same that didn't down, falling victim to ground when it's a victim of your own mind. Dreams are hopeless, aspirations, hopes are coming true. Believe in yourself, the rest is up to me and you. Don't go chasing waterfalls. Please stick to the rivers and the lakes you're used to. I know that you're gonna have it your way or nothing at all, but I think you're moving too fast. Yeah. I said, don't go chasing waterfalls. Please stick to the rivers and the lakes you're used to. I know that you're gonna have it your way or nothing at all, but I think you're moving too fast. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ben. Thanks for hanging out with me. A little crazy mashup today, just having some fun. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you all next week. Have a great show.
It's SketchUp's 3D Basecamp Fireside Chat series. here's the lay of the land before we get started. If you run into choppy video or sound, click Get Audio Video Help down here and enable Compatibility Mode. You'll end up with a slight delay, but a buttery smooth stream. You can participate over on this side by asking our guest a question, answering the occasional poll, or just joining in on the chat. And in the middle, you'll see relevant links that'll change as our show goes along. Today's guest is architectural illustrator JJ Zanetta. And now, your hosts, Aaron Dietzen and Tori Hassan.
There you are.
Couldn't find video button.
Well, that was, I mean, I always enjoy Ben playing, but like, man, sneaking Super Mario Brothers into a mashup, Little Mermaid, that was...
Yeah, I appreciated the Little Mermaid nod.
That was for us, apparently, because I was stoked on the Super Mario Brothers. It was one of those things that happen, you know, like something's happening and you hear it, but it doesn't quite register right away. It takes you a second, you're like, wait, what? Yeah.
Like, why do I know that?
Well, welcome back. If this is your first time, then welcome for the first time. This is SketchUp's 3D Basecamp Fireside Chat, our online webinar series where we do our best to entertain, educate, and sketch up your life as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. I am so happy to be back. I feel like I can say I'm fully comfortable with this now. You know, we're episode 6. I'm past the halfway point. This is just, you know, we're getting smoother.
It is. It's getting better. It's, you know, as we had that delay of your camera coming on and the echo that just happened, it's finally all working out, we can say. No, the final piece is to be ironed out. That's all that is. So everything else is going really good, I think. So
hopefully, maybe I'll stop talking about it so I don't jinx myself. But this week, we're getting a little bit creative with our guest. Right. He's going to bring some art into what he does. And in honor of that, and really in honor of all of the crazy things that we have used to put these webinars together, we have a poll down for all of you below. We want to know what your favorite tool or medium is when you're getting artistic in your free time. What do you like to use the most?
That's right. There's some options in there. If there's something you prefer, if there's a medium you like that's not listed in there, maybe you like to sculpt, or maybe, you know, you're a big fan of chicken wire art. I don't know. Go ahead and type that into the chat if it's not there. But we have some pretty good ones there, and people are already voting. And we definitely have a front runner, but get in there, fill us in on what you like to use when you create.
Yes, let us know. And while you do that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our guest today, Aaron. We are going to be joined by architectural illustrator JJ Zanetta. He is coming to us from a co-working space in Pittsburgh. So if any of you hear anything exciting going on in the background of his video, that's why. The beginning of his career, JJ started with a degree in art education, and that led him to working for an urban design firm where he was working under the firm's illustrator. Inspired by those possibilities, JJ then branched out on his own, and he now continues to use technology to help marry both of his passions, art and architecture. And so today, he is going to be taking us through his workflow for creating rendered models for urban design.
It's going to be good too. We've seen some of it, and I mean, I say this every time, but if you're not already following JJ, absolutely check him out because he has some beautiful work. It does cross that line. It blurs that line between, you know, architecture, urban design, and art. It finds that happy medium in the middle, and really cool, fun to look at.
It is. The motto of this season is follow everyone on Instagram.
It's absolutely. That's what I've been doing. I have at least 8 new people I follow in the last 2 months because of it. So
me too. Should we check out the poll?
Yes, a clear winner. We have a bunch of sketch artists here. We got pencil and pen, like over half.
A lot of traditionalists in the audience.
That's right. So hopefully we can get you a little more cutting edge options in your artistic workflows via SketchUp and some other stuff that JJ is going to show us. Yeah. Before we do that, though, before we get into what JJ is going to show us, we did want to show you some other stuff. So something we did want to plug because it just kind of worked out just about perfectly. Was something we did on our live stream a few weeks back. So those of you who don't follow us on live stream, we do a stream every Friday. I just said do. We do a live stream every Friday at noon Mountain Time, same time this is happening, but 2 days from now, where we actually use SketchUp and we create some stuff. And it's the same thing. It's we try to slot it right in that edutainment channel of your life, but we'd like to show SketchUp, and we figured, we're coming up on only 2 more episodes of Fireside.
I know. Almost there.
So maybe to fill the gap that will undoubtedly be left in your life, you could hang out with us on Fridays and check out some live models. But a few weeks back, we did have a specific model that I thought was kind of relative and be fun to spotlight. This is an urban design model we did, primarily using the new live components from SketchUp. They're available through the 3D Warehouse, but I just wanted to buzz through this model real quick to kind of show you, give you some highlights of what we did in, it was like an hour and a half, less than 2 hours of work. And I'm not an urban designer. Let's just be clear there. Those guys know things. No. So this was a model. This was just kind of a pretty, nothing as pretty as what JJ is going to show. You can kind of see this is just kind of what we threw together, just kind of exploring the files that we could look at. I'll go ahead and wipe away some of this stuff. So get rid of the buildings, the regular components, and those the little blocks I use to fill in the ground. So the rest of this is all live components, and there's only a handful of components in here. But the cool thing is that, like, looking at these, so if I come in here and buzz in here, things like this street, one live component was used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times to create these floors, or these floors. The floor of the outside world is
floor
ground.
Of the street.
But each of these, like I said, one component's loaded in. But with these new live components, if you haven't already spent a little time playing with them, check them out. They're, like I said, they're on 3D Warehouse. You can actually configure them inside 3D Warehouse, or you can download them into SketchUp Pro, and you can actually configure them from there. And everything's already in here. This is what's so cool about it. The length of the road is, I have a slider, or I can actually type a length in here. Bike lanes, the median, all that information is already in there. So you're just checking boxes or setting values. Really cool. I mean, and everything, like I said, these light posts. So having these light posts in here, this run of light posts, that's a live component. These planters on the corner, live component. My crosswalk, live component. The bus stop here, all live components. So all that information is super easy to drop in just a couple of sliders. So fun stuff. Like I said, this is the kind of stuff we spend a lot of time on in our live models. So if you want to come over and hang out Friday, we make something. Sometimes it's just a straight up model. Let's make a thing. But a lot of times we try to kind of pick a theme and dive into how you might create that, or some workflows that you might bring into your own work. So yeah, hang out with us. It's fun.
That was pretty cool. I haven't seen those used much yet.
Yeah,
I spend all my time in SketchUp for schools.
Not there yet, yeah. But you do have to have the desktop stuff to really get the most out of it. But like I said, you can use the website. You can go into 3D Warehouse and configure those and download them. So there's an option there too.
Mm-hmm. They work in web too.
They do. Awesome. Well, so we do have JJ to bring up in just a few minutes. But before that, we've got to remind you guys, he's going to come up. We're going to hang out with him, ask him some questions, play a little game with him, and he's going to do his presentation. And during the presentation, you want to pay attention as much as you possibly can. Focus on what he says, because when we're done, he's going to ask a trivia question. The first person to properly answer the trivia question in the chat's going to win a prize. And this is a super special prize. Let's talk about the prize. Prize time.
Lost my headphone there while we were doing that.
That's how big of a deal this is. It knocked the headphones out of
I got that excited. So this week's winner is going to be getting an extra special prize. This is a limited edition SketchUp duffel bag with the brand new logo there. And the thing that makes this extra special, aside from the fact that it is a limited run, is the fact that Even specialer is the fact that this has been through the hands of not only one of your Fireside hosts, but both of your Fireside hosts. So Aaron and I have both had this bag in our possession at some point, and we restrained ourselves from stealing it and adding it to our personal collections because it meant that much that it ended up with one of you, our viewers.
That's right. So technically, there's probably some Aaron and Tori DNA on it. So if you want to get all Jurassic Parky or SketchUp Park and do some cloning, this would be the opportunity.
Oh, you promised me you weren't going to say that. Please don't clone me. I don't think I can handle that.
Okay, I'm just going to say, if somebody out there has the means to clone based off of like skin cells on a bag, more power to you.
This is true. This is true. It'd be pretty cool. Well,
wow.
Make sure,
yeah, it's time. It's time to call that.
It's time. On that note, let's bring up JJ and redirect back to our urban design theme.
Absolutely. Welcome, JJ. Awesome.
JJ.
Hello.
You for joining us.
Yeah, happy to be here. This is you never you never fail to get the cringy joke.
I don't know if that's a compliment or not, or is what we're going to be known for now, Aaron.
I'll take it. I take anything that I hear as a compliment. Really, it's a filter I have. Well, thank you.
That's good. I think I'm going to adopt that.
So yeah, we promised not to talk too much more about cloning. I think we maxed out on that one. Maybe some Jurassic Park comments later, but right now, let's focus on what it is you do, because that makes a lot more sense given the time we have with you. So let's start off at the top. We use the term urban planner, but can you give us just a quick rundown on, for anybody who's not familiar with that term, what is it an urban planner does?
Urban planning is just the practice of helping cities plan and grow or not grow for the future through either design or policy. So I'm really interested in the design aspect of that. Obviously, I'm a visual person and not quite the wordsmith. So I'm really interested in the design and how planning might influence design.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
To that end, being more into the design aspect of it, do you have any cities or just anywhere that you feel was very well designed, in your opinion? Is there anything that you use kind of as a gold standard?
Well, so I'm really interested in traditional design. So that would mean like your traditional older neighborhoods that are very walkable, not quite the suburban retrofit models that have been very popular since the post-war era. So, I really love building community design that fosters great relationships and interesting things that happen in the community. So there are many aspects of what we can incorporate into our designs to really make life, to raise the quality of life for everybody so that we don't have to sit in cars for too long and enjoy each other's company instead of, barricading our backyards and side yards with trees.
I appreciate that. You're shortening my commute and creating the places I want to live in.
It's cool because when you're in a place where you could tell, you can tell when you're in the place where they've put time and energy and money and effort into a good design, because you enjoy being there as opposed to some places. We've all been in cities where it's like you leave your hotel and you get into the convention center or the business park or wherever you got to be as quick as possible because there's nothing else to be out here for. But it's nice when you're in those places where you're like, wow, yeah, I'm going to walk. I'm not going to take an Uber. I'm going to, that's cool. So that's good. I do have to ask, Tori mentioned in the intro that you transitioned from art education into architecture. What was it that made you make that transition?
Forces outside of my control, that's for sure. So I started my degree is in art education, and I had an internship with Urban Design Associates, and I'll touch on that in my demo in a little bit. But I was there from 2007 to 2009, and I really loved the work that I was doing. But something happened in 2008 and 9, if you guys don't remember, and that that caused me to be let go of the company, and so I was without a job and without clients for architect to become an illustrator. So I have my degree in art education. So I was really, I was coaching, and I was hoping to get hired as an art teacher, as a high school art teacher. And art jobs, teaching jobs in general in Pittsburgh are really tough to come by. So that never panned out for me. So I was working on teaching, and I was also working on, gaining some clientele for the illustration business, and that just took a long time to build up a sustainable business that allowed me to live a normal life, but not in my parents' basement. But it happened in due time, and so I would have been happy if my life had gone either way, because I'd be involved in art, and I do. I'm really excited to do this because I get my education fix. Most of the time, I'm just sitting at my desk drawing pictures all day, which also is a great life. But it can be a little isolating at times. So this is really great to be able to chat and connect with your whole base.
That's awesome.
I'm happy that we could bring that part out for you.
Yeah. 2008 was kind of, I think, probably a rough spot for a lot of people watching too. That was, we've had in my professional career, we've had two big hiccups. One of them was 2008 when real estate, like everything building real estate, went crazy sideways. And then, of course, 2020 was, I don't think there was an industry that wasn't affected one way or another in 2020. So
yeah.
Hoping we would have
more
hiccups like that. I like smooth sailing if possible.
It's nice. Yeah. It was crazy to start your career in a year in 2007 that, people will talk about how busy everybody was in 2007. So I knew nothing. Like, I just thought that was status quo. Everyone's just like making money and super busy, and people have great jobs. And then no one had jobs, to go through that in the first few years of your career. You're like, oh, wait a second here. I don't think I want to take anything for granted.
Yeah.
I mean, tough, but probably a good lesson to learn early on. You'll be prepared.
Yeah, traumatized.
Learning trauma. I mean, it's I'm learning trauma's a way to learn.
Yeah, they both count. I think we have time for one more question for you, but I was wondering, since working from 2008, a lot of things have changed, both in the art and technology worlds. I assume I know more about the tech worlds. I will not claim to be much of an artist, but I'm wondering if the way that you work has evolved in that time as well, or the technologies that you use, how that's changed over time.
Yeah, absolutely. It has changed. So not only are there new and better things available as far as technology, but it's almost necessary at the pace that work has to happen, and at the number of times that things change and they're edited, and you have to be really flexible. And drawing on with pen and paper is just, I don't know. I guess we didn't touch on all that, but I draw on the iPad now. But I learned drawing on pen and trace and all that good stuff, as many of us have. But ever since I started, SketchUp was a part of the workflow. So it had already been quite established in the architecture world. But before SketchUp, there were other 3D programs, and architects were starting to rely on them, but it just hadn't like reached its full potential yet. So SketchUp has always been a part of it. Mostly it was SketchUp, drawing on trace, and watercoloring. And those were all like really enjoyable things, and I'm really thankful to have learned that way, because it's informed how I've used technology to kind of mimic those qualities of the traditional media.
Mm-hmm.
We call those days before SketchUp the dark times.
The dark ages.
Yeah.
We pretend they didn't exist.
That's right.
Yeah. It's BC or BS, before SketchUp.
Before SketchUp.
I've heard that has a negative
AS.
connotation, so we try not to talk about
BS.
Yeah.
Hey, we got cringe joke number
Everything before SketchUp was BS.
Boom.
There. The marketing line for this one.
We can call it now. We got the clip. We're good.
Done. It's
all
done.
Right.
That's all we
All
need.
right. Well, that was
okay.
It was fun to learn some things, but we're going to hop into a game now. So this is a game we call...
Guess the artist Rudices.
So I had to look up how to pronounce Rebus when our video team Matt put that together. But Rebus is a sort of a word puzzle. It's a way to combine images together to make a word. So what we're going to do is we're going to present you with some images and see if you can use that art background, that education background, to call out some of these famous artists based on some images we put together. All right, so we're going to hop in. I'm going to ask Tori to minimize so we can give you the best possible chance. And so this was an example. I'm going to start with an example, okay? So here we have this guy. This guy has a name tag on, so his name is apparently Deet. We got a big arrow pointing to his kid. Looks like, this could be a boy, so this is probably his son. So we're looking at probably Deet's son. So this would be a rebus for my name. Deet's son, Deetson. So you kind of get the idea there. That's all right. We got it. You got it. I can tell you got it by that slow nod.
Don't look confused at all.
I love that you took the time to model all the words. And where is Bryce, by the way?
He's back in 2007 or something like that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's
ingrained in my memory.
All right, so here's the first one. All right, and this is do a little bit of adjusting based on the screen size. Okay, there we go. So we have a vehicle there, specific kind of vehicle, potentially moving forward. An artist name you think that might align with this thing right here?
Possibly. I think it might be. Do I say it now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Van Gogh.
Boom. I think you got the handle of this. And feel free to shout out in the chat.
Right there.
Yes, you have a phone a friend option, so people in the chat, help them out.
All right, I'm going to call this an easy one. So here we have a child's toy. This is a...
Can I guess if I think I know?
Yeah.
Is there more of an explanation?
As soon as you know.
Okay.
As soon as you know.
Dali.
This is a dolly representing Dolly. All right.
Okay.
There's only a couple names that directly line up with things, so we're going to get a little more obscure now. So here we go.
Oh my.
So a specific kind of building, for a specific industry, maybe in the shape of a specific letter.
This is so clever.
Slightly more contemporary art than the last two have been.
Yeah.
Banksy.
Ooh, that's great.
Yeah.
That is our
that's
C-shaped
incredible.
bank. All right, moving on.
That's great.
All right, this is a little weird one, but I have this. I'm going to tell you this is a metal pole. Then we have this. This is dedicated and locked around this pole, so that would make this a
pole lock. Jackson pole lock.
Boom.
Thank you.
Aaron's getting a little. He's getting a little liberal with the pronunciation on some of these.
I can bend some rules of English. We're talking art, not English.
Pollock.
That's right.
I think.
All right. This one's a little more. I think I aligned with the name on the last one here, but it is a little weird. It's a little hard to visualize, but a little bit of history maybe. Here we go. So we're looking down this. We have the names of some things here.
Do I need to look at the words?
Yeah, so we got Trojan, WWII, Vietnam, American Civil, Gulf 2, or 1812, Korean, which are all.
Well, I'm going to have to thank Dave Cooperstein. And he says Andy Warhol, and I should know that. He is a Pittsburgh fellow.
Yep,
Props to
100%.
Dave.
It's a hallway with
That's
I love it.
a hallway with wars in there. Yeah, actually I came up with that idea and then went back and some of my ideas that I had written down, like I had a Donatello thing where it was a picture of Donna yelling "Oh," and it just didn't work. So some of them were better than that.
I just wanted him to throw up all the Ninja Turtles. That was my suggestion.
That would have been the cop out, yeah.
That's hysterical.
Oh, well, thanks for doing that, JJ. You did better than I would have.
I was led along by some of the guests and Aaron himself.
Yes.
I am impressed with Dave Cooperstein's obscure knowledge of not the ability to call out rebuses and his knowledge of artists. That's pretty good.
It was. Thank you for helping. And with that, I think it's time for us to hand the floor over to you, JJ. I'm going to quickly remind everyone first, make sure you're paying attention for that trivia question. And if you have any questions, put them in the Ask a Question box down below. If you see someone else's question that you want answered, make sure you upvote it. And with that, JJ, I want to hand it off to you.
Okay.
Here we go. This
Sharing
is
screen.
Urban Design Rendering. See you guys soon.
All right. So for that, following up that glowing introduction and fun game, thank you, Aaron. So we went over a few of these things, but my degree is in art education. My first job was at Urban Design Associates. I came across that job because I was constantly drawing specifically architecture and buildings in high school and maybe even a little bit before that. And my uncle is a landscape architect. And he introduced me to the illustrator at Urban Design Associates, UDA. His name is Dave Sean. So Dave, I visited Dave in high school. It led to a summer internship and a 2-year internship. And after that ran its course. It was 2009 and time to, be released into the wild, I guess. I'm from Pittsburgh. I've never left. I went to school at Mercyhurst, which is right on Lake Erie, a couple hours north. And I have crooked thumbs. I don't know if y'all can see. So it makes me the best drawer in the world. So that's good. And my little daughter has these thumbs too, and my dad has them.
Wow.
And
so it's a legacy.
It is, I guess. Well, and my nanny had them. So my daughter's 1.5. So I have to give her a shout out. My mom commented on here, so I'm going to have to give her a shout out. And I already gave my dad a shout out because he's got these thumbs, and my wife is watching. So hi, all you ladies in my life.
That explains the big bump in numbers.
Yes, the whole Zanetta family's here.
Yeah, craziness. Traveling packs. But so this is a collection of images. Is my mouse visible to everybody?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We can see it.
It's just a collection of images that I've done. Most of these were done in plein air, so on site very quickly. And this is really what I do for fun, for art outside of what I do. And you could probably see quite a big contrast from this to the work that the commercial work that I do. And it's just something that is more freeing, and it's probably just in reaction to creating these more tight drawings and images in the commercial work. I just get to have some fun with this stuff, and I just get my easel out, and I stand outside or my sketchbook, and I just hang out and absorb, take it all in, and try to put it on paper. So this is my what I do for enjoyment and kind of what led me to become an architectural illustrator. These are images that I had done earlier in my career that were created with pen or pencil and watercolor, still using SketchUp as a base to model things and help visualize in 3D. Excuse me, things happen in the back of the co-working space. Don't freak out.
No problem.
If it sounded like I sneezed and I didn't move my mouth, that was me. So a few other images, again, just all tracing paper, scanning the drawing and printing it on watercolor paper, and then throwing some paint on there. And that all morphed into a digital workflow. So taking what I learned from drawing on paper and painting and applying it and creating a workflow in these digital media. So I'm doing all of my drawing on the iPad, and there are some really great programs to do any type of drawing or painting. I really enjoy using Procreate. I know a lot of people are using Morpholio Trace, especially architects, because you can draw to scale and everything. So some people find that extremely useful. And I'm doing all my rendering on a Cintiq monitor using a stylus, and the colors are really great on it. And the screen is big enough where I can see everything and kind of judge how the entire image is looking rather than on a smaller iPad screen. And these are some images that were created using this digital workflow. So drawing on the iPad and rendering in Photoshop. And you could see how my previous work has kind of led how this aesthetically needs to look. So this is an image that's really trying to look like a watercolor. It's really soft and a little bit looser. This is more about the drawing underneath, and then just applying a really simple color palette. This is a really finely drawn image with and really carefully rendered. It's a book cover. This is a neighborhood called Seaside. Here's an image also done on the iPad, more of a colored pencil look, but just going for a different aesthetic. And then this is a more loose image that was just to convey character and life in a proposed space, and this as well. So that's just a nice variety of images I feel there. And now that you've seen kind of how my career and workflow has morphed, let's take a closer look into how I use SketchUp in the design process. So there are three kind of stages in the design development that I use, that I kind of jump into the project at. So one would be after there are fully developed plans that are handed over to me. So in this case, here's a site plan. You could see all the different labels and parking spaces and trees. I also get a set of elevations for the individual buildings, and I then create a massing model that you could see on the left. So here are the three images that we chose with the client, and then the progression from left to right to drawing to rendering. And this is extremely helpful for the designers because we get to see everything really and how each building is related to one another, how it starts to look in context. This was just like in a greenfield development, so surrounded by trees. So context wasn't too much of an issue, but I think it looks really beautiful with the dense greens around here. It just gives it a great sense of light and character in the drawings. And these are my little trees that I created in SketchUp, and I dropped them in. You can see I'm not tracing them, but I use them to help me get a sense of scale for the trees. I'm usually doing two exports, one with the trees and entourage, and one without, just so that I can see the architecture underneath. The next phase or part of the process, design process, where I jump in is I'm given a really conceptual site plan, and then it's my job to help kind of flesh that out. So here's a little video of what a rough site plan I might get from a client. Here's some massing applied to it, choosing a view. Here are the existing conditions. And then I was lucky enough to be invited to the design charrette with the group of designers. So I'm working alongside them, drawing these things, they're reacting, we're changing and adjusting the design, take off a story here, add a story there, pop a tower in, and at the end of the day, you get a rendering or two. So we're working really quickly, and that's part of how the iPad really helps the process in speed and flexibility.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's a big jump from that initial design that you're given too.
Yeah,
It is. And that comes with experience. And here's another time lapse with just a preliminary drawing, getting your ideas on the paper. This is a walled garden back here. So we thought it would be a great idea. In my discussions with the client, we thought it'd be a great idea to have the ability to sell the garden supplies or produce at the market. Maybe you have a farm to table rendering, and we just chose a view that you have a beautiful view corridor down to the chapel at the end. I don't know if I could pause this, but this view was chosen so that we could get a really great foreground and still maintain this view down to the chapel. It's just a really nice view, and it just exudes the kind of life that this design might encourage. And then the last part, which is really has been a trend in the industry, is how we use SketchUp as a design and an exploration tool. So this is a extremely rough site plan that I was given, and what we did was, I'm going to open up the model for everybody here, and I'll show you the first iteration of it. And I worked back and forth with my client, his name is Mike Watkins, to develop this really complex site that has different levels. Excuse me here. It has all kinds of different levels. You could see this ground floor kind of sunken in, and these amazing little alleys. So we're having so much fun designing this via Zoom. And hey, let's put a rooftop pool on this hotel, and we'll have bridges going across the other wings of the hotel. Oh, wouldn't it be great if we just we pull, this massing out? The red is all retail space. So we're saying, like, let's pull this massing out. So when you're walking down the alley, as a retailer, you have some great exposure. Excuse me here. That's some great exposure.
Cool.
So we're making all of these like design decisions through SketchUp, starting with this really, rough kind of crude plan here. So this is one way that SketchUp has just like really revolutionized the world of architecture and urban design, and it's just such a responsive program because it kind of like trims the fat of all the other 3D modeling programs out there that you don't really need all these complex tools. Of course, you can use them if you want to, but SketchUp, you can use what you want to, and it's really easy and intuitive. You can kind of get rid of the rest or not use them. And then let me go to the final iteration of this design. Of course, nothing's ever final, but we decided to crank the hotel in the middle, and that just really gives you these funky little spaces in between and the ins and outs of the buildings. So I don't know. I think SketchUp just plays such a role in the whole design process. It helps everybody visualize, and instead of doing your designs in 2D, you're able to experience them in 3D. So here's the view we chose, and then let me go back to the presentation. And then here's just a little character drawing that really just explains what the character of the rest of this space is going to feel like.
It's pretty amazing to see that and think that it came from that napkin drawing. And
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about your client on a Zoom meeting going, wow, I did not give you much to go on, and we have a 3D space to explore. That's a pretty cool step.
You turned my napkin into something I can walk through.
It's a ton of fun, and it's really collaborative. He's, him and I are both going back and forth saying, oh, what if we pull this or crank that? And it's just it's not about, as an architectural illustrator, this is a little bit of a tangent. I won't go too far because we have some things to get to, but there's an illustrator who can just who can weigh in on it and give you help and aid in the design process. And there's an illustration, right? And if you just want an illustration, you just give all your plans and designs to someone who can just is not going to be inventive or needs to have any sense of design. They're just going to draw what was already designed. And the hand drawing really lends itself to, the part of the design process that requires some input. And that's really where I've found myself in this world of illustration, is really getting involved early, understanding how buildings relate to each other in spaces, and just really breathing life and character into these spaces so that people get excited about them.
Yeah.
So we're going to break down this illustration and how we got to that really quickly, going through some of the steps from going to model to finished illustration. So this is what a model looks like. And once we have our model, we want three things out of it. We need to export three things. We need to export our line, we need to export our shadows, and we need to export ambient occlusion. So exporting, here's what just our plain SketchUp line looks like. And in this case, I drew over top of it, so there's just a little sketch. And then here's our shadow export. And then for those of you who don't know or use ambient occlusion, this is what it looks like. And you can pull this out of several rendering engines, V-Ray, Lumion, those kind of things. You have to trick them to do that because they kind of took away this feature. But I use a little plugin to SketchUp called Ambient Occlusion Pro. So it's model time. Let's open up model for this. Now there are a few things that I want to just touch on before we get into Photoshop and compiling and composing everything into a rendering. What makes a good rendering? Now this is a rendering. How do we choose a view? We need to choose a view that tells the story that we need to tell. It shows the architecture or design in an aesthetically pleasing way, but also, that our clients are going to have valuable information that we need to know to help them pick a view that's going to make the best case for their argument. This view that we chose here was not about a beautiful building and, hey, you should buy this, it's going to be really great. If we wanted to choose that view, we probably would choose something like this that just gives you a sense of this beautiful private patio or this really nice sunroom, and how you have, your house is just like right along the street. This is an illustration that's more about how these buildings relate to the street. And it was used for to get approval from the city. And the city's not interested in, they're somewhat interested. They're not totally interested about like how this porch works. They want to know how it fits into the context of the street and how it's going to affect their neighbors and the rest of the city. So that's what we did. And this sits up on a little bit of a bluff here. There's some steps leading down. So we chose this view. We didn't want to put the homes at the very bottom of the page. You don't get the feeling that they're raised in elevation. So what we did was just put them towards the top of the composition. And I have a little style here that I use to help me compose a view. And this is our grid. So you should be familiar with this on your iPhone. It's best practice to kind of put your interest in one of the corners here. So didn't quite do that here, but it's in the top 2/3. But it's just a little style tool overlay that I use to help me pick the view out. And then here are my tabs for line and shadow. And then here is my extension for Ambient Occlusion Pro. And if I just open up the render window, then this will magically appear.
I like attributing magic to extensions. That sounds
Yeah.
great. How does it happen? I don't know. Extension.
Oh, look, there it is. There it is.
Magic.
Extension
And it's
magic.
magically rendering.
That's right.
Yeah, the little buckets. So yeah, this is the other export. So we have line, shadow, and ambient occlusion. And we'll save all of those. And what I'm going to do is go to Photoshop, and let's just take a quick look on how I might compile some of these. So I'm going to turn on my shadow layer. You can see I'm using my line that I drew. And you can create beautiful renderings from just your SketchUp line.
Mm-hmm.
If I am importing SketchUp line, I like to apply a little bit of noise and blur to it just to loosen it up and bring it away from that harsh, hard line. But in this case, like I said, we're just going to use the line that I drew. And here are the shadows. And I turn them to a little bit of a warm tone. And what I'm going to do is add a clipping mask. And what I want to do is take a cool and a warm and a big fat soft brush. And what I'm going to do is just a little reflected light and bounced light into the shade side, and then a little more cool color out towards the edge of the shadow. And this temperature change and value change just creates a beautiful movement across and a sense of depth, and it really creates the illusion of a light source here.
Well,
I'm going to turn on my. Go ahead.
How much depth you got just with adding the shadow on top of your hand-drawn lines? That was like
It's so much fun.
big step.
Yeah.
It is a huge step. It's super simple as well, and it just looks nice already.
Mhm.
I love that.
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
And I'm gonna turn off the shadow. Here's our ambient occlusion, and this is what comes out of Ambient Occlusion Pro, and I just overlay it with the line and set that to multiply. And what I'm going to do is just add a little bit of warmth, and here's a curves layer. I'm just going to tone it back a little bit. I don't need that much value in there. You can also control some of the color in here as well, and just, again, create that temperature change. So once I have the shadows and the ambient occlusion, I mean, this is an extremely passable rendering already. But all I'm going to do from here is just start to pick out some of the different materials. And I'm just going to put a layer in the back of grass, some street, sidewalks, brick color, window frames, glass. And I'm picking all this stuff out on my Cintiq. And trees and shrubbies and a few more. And then here's a texture. And then our foreground element that kind of helps us, detracts this foreground and really helps us focus our eye on the subject. So you can very quickly get to this point. For those of you crazy people who chose mouse as your favorite media, this is to mask out or block out the trees and the shrubs. I really think that it's worthwhile to pick up a Cintiq monitor or a tablet, which is more affordable for this kind of work. It just will loosen up your stroke and just give you it'll really speed up your process as well, and save you might not get carpal tunnel in your hands. And then the last, a few more hours, we're just going to put some polish on here, add some more texture, and there's your render. So that's my process.
So you did say
only a few minutes over. There we go.
That's perfect. You did say a couple hours. So if you were not burdened by talking to us, what would the total time be from the time you left SketchUp to the point you had, I know art's never done, but a finished image.
Yeah.
Yeah. In that example, I had a really nice model, so I didn't really have to take any time to invent architecture or work from precedent. So it's probably a few hour drawing and then a few hours to render it.
Nice. That's great.
The whole process of getting the model and having the conversation with the client, picking the view, drawing it, sending it for client comment, getting it back, adjusting the view or adjusting the drawing, all that stuff. And that's broken up into different chunks and phases. So it just takes, it's a few week process, unless the client is just like, hey, make it look nice. See you later.
As soon as you get a client read, timelines go out the window, right?
Iteration takes a while.
Exactly.
All right. So we have a bunch of great questions for you guys. We're going to try to get through a couple of them.
Okay.
But before we do that, we do want to ask JJ to present his question and give you the opportunity to win that SketchUp bag full of host. So yes, that's the one. So we'll go ahead and we'll do it right now. Fire away, JJ.
Okay. So the 3 exports out of SketchUp that we need are 1, 2, and 3. What are they?
All right, first one, you get right in the chat.
Ooh.
Ah, we got one. Perfect timing with the music there. All right, with Drew Pasek got the right answer with line, shadows, and ambient occlusion. Those are JJ's top 3 exports. Congratulations, Drew.
He even had commas in there,
I know, he took his time writing that out.
Ampersand in there and everything. Wow, good job.
We would have
Drew.
accepted AO too. AO.
No, he wrote it out the whole way.
I know.
All right, let's fire through a couple of questions. Sorry, go ahead. Tell Andrew.
Just gonna tell Drew to claim your prize. Make sure that you send an email to our team at events@sketchup.com with your name and your episode number, and they will get you set up with this new duffel bag.
All right. And we're going to fire through a couple quick questions. We only have a few minutes left. We're not going to get to every question. If you have more questions than this, just a reminder, JJ will be live on Instagram immediately following the show, so we can head over, follow him there, and he'll be able to answer more questions. Right now, the first question we have is about the extension Placemaker. Do you ever use Placemaker, JJ?
No.
Okay, maybe we'll get through a lot of questions if that's the answers.
If those are the answers. Okay, our next question.
I'll look into it.
It is a great extension. I mean, in all honesty, it's a great extension because it does kind of auto-populate urban areas with building masses, streets, water, that kind of stuff. So it is a pretty cool extension. So Mindsight Studio, it is worth checking out.
Yeah.
There you go. Pro tip from Aaron. Our next question, the second most upvoted one, it looks like, they want to know if you or your team have ever used drone mapping or photogrammetry to gather site context, or if you just rely on site surveyors to give you CAD files for things like that.
Yeah, well, so much of my work comes way before someone might even find that information really necessary. So, we're working with, we have a slight grade to the site. Do we think that we could build our building at sidewalk grade and then have a lower level on the back half of the block? They're really conceptual ideas, and my job is just to be as efficient as possible before contracting all those things out. So it's kind of like, let's just get a nice image and the idea across before we actually pay for all these other things.
Mm-hmm.
So that is something that could happen, but it happens downstream from your
After
work.
the fact.
Exactly. I have a drone, and I'll do drone photography and just sketch my concepts from that. And people really enjoy the existing photography overlaid with like the time lapse drawing that I showed all you guys.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's a
Those
fun way
videos were
to
cool.
see. Yeah, it's a fun way to see the transformation of a space of a place.
Awesome.
That's great.
Okay, one more fast question. This was asking about people. Oh, this is from Jim Leggett, who I believe you know or have heard of Jim before.
I was texting with him this morning. He said he's excited. And Jim is responsible for hooking me up with you guys. So hi, Jim.
That's right. Jim Leggett was a great one of our favorite presenters back at Basecamp 2018, and hoping to see him again coming up in 2022. But he was wondering if you trace people from SketchUp components, file photos, or do you sketch them from your imagination when you put people, entourage into your drawings?
So a more detailed rendering, I will use photos as underlays. But for sketches, usually I'm just doing the architect person with the head and the shoulders and the legs. If you're an architect, you know what I'm talking about. But
MVP,
Just the general idea of a body.
So I did show you guys all the preliminary drawing of the one sketch with the farmer's market and the farm to table restaurant in the foreground. I'm taking the SketchUp model, doing a little bit of character architecture, and I'm composing the people where I want to put the people, and then I find some photos that kind of match what the composition that I had in my head. So I'm sketching first and then finding photos of people to kind of put in there and that are doing the activities. And that's really what separates, I know we have to go. It's what separates what I do from digital rendering, because you have to find like the perfect photo for the thing that you're gonna put the person into this digital rendering. I can just draw a person. And if I find a great photo of someone that I really wish they had a backpack on, I'll just draw a backpack on them.
Perfect.
Yeah, no big deal.
Awesome. Well, yes, we do. Like I said, we do have to wrap up now. So we're going to let you go and let you hop on Instagram. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your art inspiration workflows. It's been a great session. Thank you, JJ.
Yes,
Thank you all. It's thanks for having me. I've really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to connecting with your audience. And it's been nice to get to know you guys over the last few weeks.
Yes.
You too.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Thank you very much.
Right. Bye-bye.
Thanks, JJ. That was awesome. Everyone, we didn't get anywhere close to all your questions, but follow him over to Instagram. It sounds like he is still got a lot to say. Sorry, we had to cut him off there.
Yeah,
but
there's more to be said, but not here, I guess.
Yes.
Not now.
Well, now, just right after the end of this, follow him over there. And make sure that you come back and join us next week for episode 7, when we are going to be talking construction with Rachel Robinson.
That's right. It's going to be great. Until next time, don't ever let anybody tell you that design and art are different things. Obviously, a place for both those to mix and match and be awesome. So be creative, and we will see you next week.
Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to tune in next week when we talk virtual design and construction with Rachel Robinson. Right now, drop by JJ's Instagram page and chat with him live. And thank you for watching the Fireside Chat series.